You know what's kind of funny? I was thinking about this the other day, how often we actually need to ask people for help during the day. Like just random little things, asking where something is in a store, or stopping someone on the street to ask for directions. It happens all the time, but I don't think we really notice it until we're in a country where we don't speak the language well. Then suddenly you're very aware of every single time you need to open your mouth and ask someone something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I remember traveling and just the anxiety of needing to ask someone where the bathroom was or how to get somewhere. And it's not even that the question itself is complicated, right? It's more about not wanting to sound rude or not wanting to bother someone. There's this whole emotional layer to it that has nothing to do with the actual words.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes it tricky for a lot of people. Because if you're learning English, you might know the words, like you know how to say, "Where is the train station?" But you don't necessarily know how to make it sound, I don't know, softer, less demanding. Because in real life, people don't just walk up and say, "Where is the train station?" They say something before that. They kind of ease into it.
Right, like, excuse me, or sorry to bother you. There's always this little introduction. It's like you're acknowledging that you're interrupting someone's day, even if it's just for 5 seconds. And I think that's something that feels very natural to native speakers. But if you're learning the language, you might not realize how important that part is. You might just skip straight to the question.
Yeah, and then it can come across as, I don't want to say rude, but maybe a little abrupt. Like if someone just walks up to me and says, "Where's the bathroom?" without any kind of greeting, it doesn't feel terrible, but it does feel a bit sudden. Whereas if someone says, "Excuse me, sorry, do you know where the bathroom is?" it just feels more comfortable. For both people, actually.
Totally. It's like you're giving the other person a second to switch gears. Because most of the time, people are in their own world, right? They're thinking about something else, or they're focused on what they're doing. So when you say, excuse me, you're basically saying, hey, I'm about to ask you something. And that gives them a moment to tune in. It's considerate.
I'm Lily, by the way. I don't think I actually said that at the beginning. But yeah, this whole topic is something I find really interesting because it's so universal. Everyone needs to ask for help sometimes. And today, we're going to talk about exactly that, how people ask for help in everyday situations. Like when you're in a store and you can't find something, or when you're lost and need directions, or when you need to get someone's attention because you dropped something. Just those little moments that happen all the time. We're not going to explain it like a lesson or anything. We're just going to talk about how it actually sounds when people do this in real life.
And I'm David, and yeah, I think what makes this useful is just hearing it used naturally, over and over in different situations. Because once you hear the patterns enough times, it starts to feel automatic. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just know how to start a sentence when you need help.
Welcome to English Ultra, where you learn English through real-life conversations. And if you enjoy these calm, real conversations, subscribe to English Ultra so you don't miss future episodes.
So let's just start with something really common. You're in a grocery store and you're looking for something specific, let's say olive oil, and you've been walking around for a few minutes and you can't find it. What do?
Okay, so first of all, I'm probably going to look around for a staff member. And when I spot someone, I'll walk over, but not too fast because I don't want to startle them, and I'll say something like, "Excuse me, sorry to bother you. Do you know where I can find the olive oil?" And the key thing here is that "sorry to bother you" part. I say it almost every time, even though I'm not actually bothering them. It's their job to help customers, but it just feels more polite.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Excuse me is almost automatic at this point. And sometimes I'll add a little more, like, excuse me, hi, I'm looking for olive oil. Would you happen to know which aisle it's in? And that would you happen to know is interesting because it's kind of tentative. It's like I'm not assuming they know. I'm giving them an out in a way.
That's a good point. You're making it easier for them to say, "Oh, I'm not sure, but let me check," Or, I think it's in aisle 5, but I'm not positive. You're not putting pressure on them to have the answer immediately. And honestly, people appreciate that. It makes the whole interaction feel less stressful.
Exactly. And if the person doesn't work there, like let's say you accidentally ask another customer, they're usually pretty nice about it. They'll say, "Oh, I don't work here, sorry." And you can just laugh it off and say, "Oh my gosh, sorry, I thought you did." And it's fine, no big deal.
I've done that so many times. I think it's the worst when they're wearing the same color shirt as the employees, and you're just convinced they work there. But yeah, people are generally understanding. And that's the thing. Most people don't mind being asked for help. They really don't. As long as you're polite about it, they're usually happy to help if they can.
Okay, here's another one. You're at a coffee shop and you ordered something, but when you taste it, it's not quite what you wanted. Maybe it's too sweet, or maybe they gave you regular milk instead of oat milk. What do you say?
Ooh, okay, so this one can feel a little awkward because you don't want to seem like you're complaining. But, I would probably go back to the counter and say something like, "Hey, sorry, I think there might have been a mix-up with my drink. I ordered it with oat milk, but I think this might be regular milk. Would it be possible to remake it?" And I'd say it with a smile, so they know I'm not upset.
Yeah, the smile is huge. And the way you phrased it, "I think there might have been a mix-up," that's smart, because you're not blaming anyone. You're just pointing out that something's not right. You're not saying, "You made it wrong," or "This is wrong." You're keeping it neutral.
Right, because mistakes happen. And honestly, most baristas are going to be totally fine remaking it. They'd rather fix it than have you walk away unhappy. But the way you ask makes a difference. If you're nice about it, they'll usually be nice back. And I always say, "Thank you so much," when they hand me the new drink, because I genuinely appreciate it.
Absolutely. And even adding something like, "I really appreciate it," or "Thanks for fixing that," goes a long way. It shows that you're not taking it for granted. You're recognizing that they're doing something for you, even if it's technically their job.
Okay, what about asking a stranger for help? Like you're on the street and you need directions, or you need to know what time it is, or something like that. That one can feel a little more intimidating, I think, because you're approaching someone you don't know at all.
Yeah, for sure. I think the key with strangers is making eye contact first, if possible, so they know you're about to talk to them. And then starting with, "Excuse me," is essential. I might say something like, "Excuse me, sorry, do you know which way the library is from here?" And I'd probably point in a direction while I'm asking, just to show that I've already been thinking about it. Like I'm not completely clueless, I just need confirmation.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll add a little context, like, "Excuse me, hi, I'm a bit lost. Do you know how to get to Main Street from here?" Because saying, "I'm a bit lost," kind of explains why you're asking. It makes it feel less random, and people respond well to that. They want to help someone who's lost.
Definitely. And if the person seems busy, like they're on their phone or they're clearly in a hurry, I might add, "Sorry, I know you're busy, but," just to acknowledge it. Like, "Sorry, I know you're busy, but do you know if there's a post office nearby?" It's a small thing, but it shows you're aware that you're interrupting.
Yeah, and if they don't know the answer, they'll usually say, "Sorry, I'm not from around here," or "I'm not sure, sorry." And then you just thank them anyway and move on. No hard feelings. You just say, "No worries, thanks anyway," and find someone else to ask. It's not a big deal.
Right. And honestly, most people are happy to help if they can. I think we sometimes build it up in our heads like it's going to be this awkward, uncomfortable thing. But in reality, it's usually over in like 10 seconds, and everyone walks away fine.
Totally. Okay, here's one that I think trips people up sometimes. Asking someone to repeat something. Like you didn't hear what they said or you didn't understand, and you need them to say it again. How do you do that without sounding, I don't know, like you weren't paying attention?
Oh, that's a good one. because there's definitely a way to do it that feels natural and a way to do it that feels kind of blunt. I think the most common thing people say is just, sorry, with a rising intonation, like, sorry? And that's perfectly fine. It's short, it's polite, and it signals that you need them to repeat themselves.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Sorry? And usually the other person will just say it again without any issue. But if I want to be a little more specific, I might say, sorry, I didn't catch that. Or, sorry, what was that? And if it's noisy, like we're in a loud restaurant or something, I might add, sorry, it's a bit loud in here. What did you say? So they know it's not that I wasn't listening, it's just that I literally couldn't hear.
Exactly. And sometimes you hear part of it, but not all of it. So you can say something like, sorry, did you say Tuesday or Thursday? That way you're showing that you were listening, you just need clarification on one part. And people appreciate that because it shows you're engaged.
Mm-hmm. And if someone uses a word you don't know, you can say, sorry, what does that mean? Or, sorry, I'm not familiar with that word. And most people will happily explain it. They're not going to judge you for not knowing. They'll just clarify and move on.
Yeah, and I think that's something people worry about a lot, that asking for clarification will make them seem dumb or something. But in reality, everybody has moments where they don't hear something or don't understand something. It's completely normal. And asking is way better than just nodding and pretending you understood when you didn't.
Oh, absolutely. I've done that before where I just smile and nod, and then later I'm like, wait, what did they say? And then it's too late to ask. So it's better to just ask in the moment, even if it feels a little awkward.
For sure. Okay, what about asking for help when you're not sure if the person can help you? Like you're in a situation where you don't know if they have the information or the ability to do what you're asking. How do you phrase that?
Ooh, good question. So I think the key there is using softeners, words that make the question sound less direct. Like instead of saying, can you help me, you might say, would you be able to help me with something? Or do you happen to know if that happen to is really useful? Because it implies that you're not sure if they'll know, but you're hoping they might.
Yeah, exactly. Like, excuse me, do you happen to know what time the museum closes? Or, would you happen to have a pen I could borrow? It's less assuming. And I think another good one is there any chance? Like, is there any chance you know where the nearest ATM is? It's a bit more tentative, which can feel more polite.
Right. And you can also use by any chance at the end of a question. Like, do you know if the pharmacy is still open by any chance? It's just a little extra politeness buffer. And honestly, these kinds of phrases are everywhere once you start noticing them. People use them constantly in everyday conversation.
Totally. And what about when you're asking someone to do something for you? Not just giving you information, but actually doing something. Like, could you pass me that? Or could you hold the door? How do you phrase those?
Okay, so for small, quick things, people often just say, could you or can you? Like, could you pass me the salt? Or can you hold this for a second? Those are pretty standard. But if it's something that might be a little more effort, you might add, would you mind? Like, would you mind holding the door? Or would you mind grabbing that for me? And would you mind is nice because it frames it as asking for a favor, not making a demand.
Yeah, and I think people also use, do you think you could, pretty often. Like, do you think you could help me move this table? It's similar to, would you be able to? But it sounds a little more casual. And if the person says yes, you always follow up with, thank you so much, or I really appreciate it. You don't just take the help and walk away.
Absolutely. And if someone can't help you, like they're busy or they can't lift something or whatever, they'll usually say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't right now. Or I wish I could, but. And then you just say, no worries, that's totally fine, and move on. You don't make them feel bad about it.
Right, because the point is you're asking, not demanding. And that distinction is really important.
When you phrase things as requests rather than commands, people feel like they have a choice, and they're much more likely to want to help.
Exactly. And I think tone plays a huge role in that too. You can say the exact same words, but if your tone is warm and friendly, it's going to land differently than if your tone is flat or impatient. Like, can you help me? With a smile sounds totally different from, can you help me? With no expression.
Oh, for sure. Tone is everything. And body language, too. If you're making eye contact and smiling, people are going to be way more receptive than if you're staring at your phone while asking them something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here's another situation. You're in a restaurant and you need something, but your server is busy. Like you need a refill on your water or you need another napkin. What do you do?
Hmm. Okay. So I think the first step is trying to make eye contact with the server when they're near your table. Not waving them down or snapping your fingers, that's definitely rude, but just catching their eye so they know you need something. And then when they come over, you say something like, "Hey, sorry, could I get a refill on my water when you get a chance?" That when you get a chance is key because it shows you're not demanding it immediately.
Yeah, that's such a good phrase. When you get a chance or whenever you have a moment, it takes the pressure off. And I think another good one is, sorry, could I trouble you for, like, sorry, could I trouble you for some extra napkins? It's very polite, maybe even a little old-fashioned, but it works.
Definitely. And if the server seems really slammed, like the restaurant is super busy, you might even add something like, "I know you're busy, but could I grab some ketchup when you have a sec?" Just acknowledging that they're busy makes them feel seen, and they'll usually appreciate it.
Absolutely. And at the end of the meal, when they bring the check, people often say, thank you so much, or we really enjoyed everything, thank you. It's just a nice way to close out the interaction. You're not just paying and leaving, you're acknowledging the service.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what about asking for help when you're feeling kind of embarrassed or uncertain? Like you're not sure if your question is dumb or you're worried you're bothering someone. How do you handle that?
Ooh, that's a tough one because I think a lot of people feel that way. I think the trick is to just own it. Like, if you think your question might sound silly, you can even say that. Sorry, this might be a dumb question, but, or, sorry, I feel like I should know this, but, and people are usually really nice about it. They'll say, no, it's not a dumb question at all, and then answer it.
Yeah, I do that too. Sorry if this is obvious, but... And it's funny because 9 times out of 10, it's not a dumb question. Other people probably have the same question. But even if it is kind of obvious, people aren't going to make you feel bad about it. They're just going to help.
Right. And I think the vulnerability actually makes people want to help more. Like, if you're clearly a little nervous or unsure, people tend to be extra kind. They'll go out of their way to make sure you understand or to help you figure it out.
Definitely. And I think that's true across the board. People generally want to help. They really do. As long as you're polite and respectful, most people are going to respond positively. They're not going to roll their eyes or brush you off. They're going to do what they can to assist.
Yeah, and even if they can't help, they'll usually try to point you in the right direction. Like, oh, I don't know, but you could try asking someone at the front desk. Or, I'm not sure, but I think there's an information booth over there. People want to be helpful.
Exactly. Okay, last scenario. You're on a bus or train, and you need to ask someone if you're going the right way or if this is the right stop. What do you say?
Okay, so this one can feel a little nerve-wracking because you're approaching a stranger in a somewhat confined space. But I think most people are used to it, especially in big cities. So I'd probably lean over slightly and say, excuse me, sorry, does this bus go to Central Station? Or if I'm not sure about my stop, I might say, excuse me, do you know if this is the stop for the museum? And usually people are really helpful with this because they've been in the same situation before.
Yeah, and I think people on public transit are generally pretty friendly about these kinds of questions. They get it. Everyone's been lost or confused at some point.
And if you're really unsure, you can even ask the driver. Like when you're getting on the bus, you can say, "Excuse me, does this bus go to Main Street?" And they'll either say yes or tell you which bus you need instead.
Exactly. And I think it's always better to ask than to just sit there worrying that you're on the wrong bus, because then you might end up way off course and it's going to take way longer to fix. So just ask. People are used to it and they're not going to think anything of it.
For sure. And honestly, I think that's the big takeaway from all of this. Asking for help is normal. It's something everyone does, all the time. And as long as you're polite about it, people are going to be receptive. They might not always have the answer, but they'll do their best to help if they can.
Yeah, and the politeness part isn't even that complicated. It's really just about starting with "excuse me" or "sorry" and ending with "thank you." Those little bookends make such a difference. They show that you're aware you're asking someone for their time or attention and you appreciate it.
Totally. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might feel a little awkward or forced, but eventually, it's just automatic. You don't even think about it anymore. You just know how to ask for help in a way that feels comfortable for everyone involved.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes these conversations useful, just hearing these patterns over and over in different contexts so they start to sink in. You're not memorizing rules or studying grammar, you're just absorbing how people actually talk, and then it starts to come naturally when you need it.
Yeah, and that's really the best way to learn. Just listening and noticing and letting it become part of your natural speech. It takes time, but it works.
Absolutely. And if this kind of conversation helps, you can subscribe to English Ultra. We do these all the time, just real, natural conversations about everyday topics. No lessons, no explanations, just talking.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of nice just to listen to people talk, even if you're not actively trying to learn something. It's relaxing. And if you pick up some useful phrases along the way, that's a bonus.
Exactly. Well, I think that about covers it. Asking for help, it's something we all do, and it's not as complicated as it sometimes feels. Just be polite, be genuine, and people will generally be happy to help.
Couldn't have said it better myself.